What's up guys, DiplexHeated here again. Welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2 and the Great War Realism mod. This is a World War I mod for Men of War Assault Squad 2, and it's sort of a combination of Rob's Realism mod and Battle of Empires. So I think we're about to have a very, very good World War I experience. Today, we are recreating the entire movie called The Lost Battalion. For those of you who haven't seen it, I really recommend you do. It's a great World War I movie filled with plenty of action, and of course it's based off of real events, so today's battle will be highly historical, and I'm very, very excited to see how it plays out. The map has been made by Mighty Mapper 123, but I have scripted and created the battle itself, so it's just a good harmony of two... Oh, Jesus Christ, I was about to say masterminds. I'm not going to speak for myself, but Mighty Mapper 123 is one hell of a talented mapper, so before I crown myself a genius, I'm not, jeez. Okay, sidetrack that. I don't want to read any spiteful comments about how much of an asshole I am. Anyway, oh God, really? What are we doing? Are we sidetracking? Yes, we are. Simon, are we sidetracking? Yes, all right, before we actually start the battle, I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit about it, so listen up. The Lost Battalion is the name given to 9 companies of the United States 77th Division, roughly 550 men, isolated by German forces during World War I after an American attack in the Argonne Forest in October 1918. On October 2nd, the division quickly advanced into the Argonne Forest under the belief that French forces were supporting the left flank and 2 American units, including the 92nd Division, were supporting the right flank. Unknown to the unit, the French advance had been stalled. Without this knowledge, the Americans had moved beyond the rest of the Allied line and found themselves completely cut off and surrounded by German forces. For the next 6 days, suffering heavy losses, the men of the division were forced to fight off several attacks by the Germans. The battalion suffered many hardships. Food was short and water was available only by crawling under fire to a nearby stream. Ammunition ran low, communications were also a problem, and at times they would only be bombarded by shells from their own artillery. As every runner dispatched by the unit either became lost or ran into German patrols, carrier pigeons became the only method of communicating with headquarters. In an infamous incident on October 4th, inaccurate coordinates were delivered by one of the pigeons and the unit was subjected to friendly fire. The unit was saved by another pigeon named Cher Ami, delivering the following message. "We are along the road parallel 2764. Our artillery is dropping a barrage directly on us. For heaven's sake, stop it." Despite this, they held their ground and caused enough of a distraction for other Allied units to break through the German lines, which forced the Germans to retreat. This battle took place in Argonne Forest from October 2nd to 8th, so practically 6 days of just hard fighting. That is a week of hell. Hell week, I'm sure they could call it. That is crazy. So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you do. It's a very good World War I movie. And without further ado, I think we're just going to click start. So I've tried to take the map that I've been given, and I've tried to sort of take the 2 hours worth of fighting in the movie, which basically, the movie spans from October 2nd during their first attack, and then till October 8th, obviously, towards the end. And I've tried to squeeze it into 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes of fighting, so it should cover most of it. But this here is towards the end. This is takes place on October 8th, the last day, and the positions have been heavily bombarded previously. They have taken hundreds of casualties out of the 550 that actually went into the fight at the start, and there's only about a few hundred remaining now. Very, very crazy indeed. The Germans are also tired and somewhat low on morale after several days of fighting and without really doing too much to the positions that the U.S. unit has been trying to hold. So they're going to be going in slow now after a artillery barrage during the morning. But the Americans are still alive and kicking. And they're going to open up on that German unit before it gets too close. The Americans also have a Hotchkiss back here, which might cause a few questions, but this is indeed the machine gun that they had in the movie, and most likely was the machine gun that they actually brought in with them during the actual battle. So, yeah, a little bit of a French touch here to the Americans holding it out. Pretty cool. So, without I think I'll go through the realistic numbers towards the end of the battle, and right now we'll just enjoy the fight itself. But it's a very good battle to kind of make a movie out of. That's for sure. So do check it out. Look at that. Germans are facing some pretty stiff and firm resistance here from the remaining US troops. They've been battling it out now for 6 days, and both sides have taken hundreds and hundreds of casualties. So the 550 men that went into the forest at the start are now down to about 150 or so. Or actually probably a little bit more than that, about 200, but many men have been taken prisoners and whatnot, so not all have been killed, so to speak. The Germans have also taken hundreds of casualties. Obviously, none really taken prisoner, considering the situation that the Americans are in right now. It's a rifle fire spanning throughout the hill here. Small pond here in the center. Doesn't really have anything to do with the battle. I'm not really sure why I mentioned it, but it's beautiful, isn't it? Maybe you can catch a little sea bass in it or something. I don't know. Pike. Who knows? Look at that. Love this forest. It's a lot of trees, but it's easy to still see down through it, so that's great. Really still gives that feeling of a nice, dense forest. So I was in Copenhagen over the weekend. It was kind of a last-minute escape, so I didn't really plan any videos, which is why I didn't upload any videos. So sorry about that. Gonna try and keep things more on schedule in the future. But I'm glad you're back watching. It's only been a couple of days. I've taken way longer breaks before, so I don't think anyone thinks I'm dead or so. Also, follow me on Snapchat if you're interested in that. It's a great way of me communicating with you, keeping in touch with the community. It's also a great way for you to see what I'm doing when it comes to the work and all the battles, and, leave your input and feedback on them in terms of perhaps what I should do with factions or defenses or units and whatnot. So keep that in mind. Ooh, that guy was just shot down as he tried to get over this kind of ridge here. So the German attack has kind of come to a little bit of a halt. There's more long-range bolt-action rifle fighting right now. Grenades being thrown. Look at that. Nice one. The Germans are, and have been for the last couple of days, or the last almost entire week, just running into trouble. I believe that the German unit attacking in this case was a reserve division or something, or a reserve regiment. So perhaps not the most battle-hardened troops, but I don't think that most of these men here that came in terms of the American forces during World War I were all too battle-hardened either, since they entered towards the end of the war. And I mean, I'm sure there were a few conflicts and veterans from previous wars that the Americans had been engaged in, but still. Wouldn't go as far to say that it was overly uneven when it came to battle veterancy. Look at that. I was looking here on the right side, not so much. Most of these men are back in cover, frightened by the Americans and their former combat performers over the last couple of days. Look at that. And the Germans have just been sent in day after day, in wave after wave and wave after wave. Artillery and everything has been really called in here to try and push the Americans back. And I think they really underestimated them at the start when they realized that the Americans were surrounded. But without committing all their cards at the start, they really just dragged it out, and it turned out to be a pretty interesting, not stalemate, but a costly battle for both sides. But the very most costly for the Germans, so to speak. In a situation like this, with the right kind of coordination and attacking and communication, you could probably knock out a surrounded unit that's outnumbered in a day or two. But nope. Send in a little at a time, no overcommitment. Well, it's like Battle of Thermopylae kind of thing. But I don't think they were undercommitted. I think that they sent in appropriate forces every time they did attack. I don't think they were like, oh, well, there's 10 of them defending, we'll send in 10 of ours. I do think they actually, committed to the right military strategies that were required at the time to fulfill such a mission. or objective, but it just came down to the individuals, the morale and the fighting spirit and clever thinking of the major who commanded them. I believe his name was Major Charles White Whitley or something like that. Yes, indeed. He was actually given the Medal of Honor, which is very, very cool. Nicknames: Galloping Charlie. Cool. Well, the Germans are moving up a little bit after inflicting more and more casualties to the Allied defense here. Where do we have the Major? Where is he? He's supposed to have a Webley, I think. They used a variety of handguns. Webley and the 1911, I'm sure. Well, he's back here somewhere. There he is. That's got to be him, right? It's a Webley 45. Cool. The German company that was sent in at the start now is definitely under-strengthened and has been more or less stopped entirely by the American defense. So the Germans are sending in a second wave. A whole nother fresh company is coming in. And I believe they have a flamethrower with them. I would really, really, really like to see that in action. He's right there. But if for some reason he has decided to equip himself with a pistol instead, you might see that as more of a viable option in this case. Well. Oh, they're really gaining some ground right now. American Hotchkiss back here opening up. That might surprise a few. Did I mention that or not? But the Hotchkiss is actually what they had in the movie and the battle itself. So you would think perhaps a Vickers or something, but nope. Cool stuff though. Iconic magazine there that runs out to the left side instead of a belt. But I guess magazine-fed weapons were more common at this time, at least with the MGs. Yes. It's a huge German attack here. Oh! Quickly shot down, though, by the marksman on the other side. The only way the Americans can really put an end to all these tortureful days, or whatever you want to call them, is to eventually counterattack and break the Germans at their staging point, at their base of operations, so to speak, where they stage all these attacks, which would be the command trench back there that's been constantly overseeing this American position. Grenades being thrown. Machine guns are kicking into action. The German attack is under full way right now. Steady but slowly, they're trying to make some progress, and casualties are pretty great on both sides, but mainly the Germans so far. Most of the Americans up here have been killed, and I can't say for sure if this is the Major over here with the Webley, but or the revolver rather. But if he lives, it's him. If he dies, it's not him. Plenty of pistols involved in 9 companies, though. You're gonna have at least 18, more than that for sure. German unit down here putting a lot of fire on one of the flanking positions here. 2 soldiers with rifles. All bayonets are fixed, ready for that nasty close encounter melee, but we'll see if that comes to bear. German attack is going to continue. Look at them pushing up. This is so massive. There's so many of them. And now they're really starting to come down way too close here for the Americans' comfort. Look at this guy standing up here. Boom, boom. Putting some rounds into the Germans. That's pretty cool. I think he got a guy right there beside that tree. Cool. The Americans do have some troops back in reserve So there were 9 companies who were lost. Obviously, that's like 554 men at this time. At least it was a little battle-worn. But Battalion itself was quite battle-worn, to be honest. But now the... Jeez, look at that. They've had some troops in reserve and also on the flanks to protect them. But as I said, they have to gather everyone and go for full-on assault if they want to break the and eliminate the Germans' capabilities of continuously attacking the American positions. And right now they're starting to get pushed in quite heavily. So a counterattack, a full-on counterattack charge would probably be what they need right now in order to bring this through. The Germans are going to still continue to attack. And I wonder if they wouldn't have done so if the attacks would have continued for several days to come. As I said, the Germans had numerical superiority in the area. Look at that push. There's just so many coming up right now. They're taking it a little slow, though. I will give them that. There's definitely a certain type of slow to this. Oh, whole squad went up there to the log to try and make a little bit of difference, but they were quickly gunned down. These men here are mainly keeping it cool. Germans are getting closer and closer by every minute. American positions are starting to weaken throughout the entire front line here. We have a lone rifleman up here on the far right flank. He's the only one person holding that side. If the Germans get by him, the center positions are going to have, well, they're going to have a very hard time at holding their ground. Major's still holding it down. Oh, he shot that guy in the head. Did you see that? That was fantastic. Let's take a quick look at casualties. German casualties in red, or I mean yellow, US casualties in red. Crazy stuff so far. Wow, there's a clear difference in numbers, but the Americans have lost so many men already. The Germans are getting closer by every second now. These positions can definitely feel the heat now. The entire frontline defense here has been more or less wiped out. There's just a few men remaining. This major would be one of them. With his Webley 45. I'm not sure if the Americans, they obviously had the 1911, but I'm wondering if the major in that case who had a revolver, which you can see in the movie itself, if that was an American-made revolver or if it was like a Webley. It looked kind of like a Webley. It really did resemble one, but I'm not sure if that was actually the gun they used. Americans are coming, or the Germans are coming hard on the flank right now. They are really wrapping around. I think it's about time the Americans go for a counter-charge now. They've come close, but not closer. They can catch the Germans off guard. They can definitely push them back and continue the fight more towards the German trenches back here. Oh, they're ready. They're ready to receive. They have always been ready to receive. They've never known if the Americans were going to counterattack or not. And for the last 6 days of constant hard battling, the Germans are going to go for one last push. I'm sure that the backline trench then would have expected it any time now. Artillery hitting the backlines. A pigeon must have delivered some accurate coordinates this time around. And they're just softening up the German defense before the full-on counterattack. Here come the remaining bit of the lost battalion that have been previously in reserves, wounded and covering flanks. And they're going in for the full-on head-on assault right now to break the Germans where they belong, so to speak, in their back trenches. This is going to be one hell of a fight. Look at them getting in so close right now. This is some real bayonet distance. That grenade was thrown back. Look at him charging down the hill now. Germans are pulling back. Some officer back here must be like, Jesus, not again. This is the 6th day in a row now he sees his own men retreating back. It's quite a demoralizing view, or sight, I gotta tell you. Jeez. The Germans have taken a lot of casualties back here. The artillery definitely hit well. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up a machine gun there and give them a little bit more of a fighting chance. Besides, it's nice to hear something else than just bolt-action rifles all the time, but that's World War I for you. These men have been cornered back up in here. Oh! Headshot. Trenches are starting to take some fire now. Look at the trees being hit, all the bullet impacts, all the wood being chipped off. It's pretty crazy if you ask me. But the Germans are ready. It's one hell of a final way to end this battle now with a full-on attack. Oh, jeez. Germans are being pushed back there on the right side. Americans are going very hard here on the German left flank. Look at that. How cool is that, though? That's fantastic. Look at them moving down. Led by the major, the remaining men charging now. Must be about just less than 200 men attacking towards the end. The final numbers were pretty much 600 German casualties, about 200 Allied casualties. Out of the 550 that went into the forest, about 200 were actually captured early on. About 150, rather, missing and captured. They were later rescued, of course, by the remaining 200 men that did not die. And were not captured, that were actually more or less combat active towards the end of the fight there, but that's just crazy. And I'm pretty sure the Allies took about 200 casualties throughout these 6 days of fighting. So, very, very casualty-filled battle for both sides. And the trench is more or less being captured right now. The Germans are forced to retreat. The 77th, or the Lost Battalion rather, has managed to break the German advance and force them to retreat from their position. That is quite legendary, if you ask me. Hope you guys enjoyed this battle. If you guys want to see more World War I content, then let me know and I can deliver. We'll keep the red, the Germans, and the yellow casualties will be the Allied ones. So look at that. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys soon again. Ciao.